well. We've never done this well before, and we're going to do a lot better. Thank you very much.
I will start, I think, thanking you, Professor. Thanking you for the role that you had years ago in my life. You didn't even notice. My name is Armեն Սարգսյան. My first profession, I was theoretical physicist and mathematician from Soviet Union. Then I was diplomat. And years ago, in '96, I was very young Prime Minister of Armenia. And when you speak about the country after the breakdown of Soviet Union, there was quite an issue. The country that was one of the hubs of Soviet Union in science, technology was cut from anything from energy, communications, nothing, huge problems. And of course we had also to address also poverty as well. I think in the Soviet Union everybody was equal. There were some that were more equal than the others in Politburo and others, but doesn't matter. Then the way you address the poverty, even those days for me, for a very young prime minister, which was 26 years ago, was development. And one of my first encounters of relations with IMF and the World Bank, it became a confrontation. Because what I was offered and what was the plan for development for Armenia was about maintaining it. So not allowed to it will just collapse, create another financial crisis, another headache for everybody. So there was nothing for development. But we needed a development which is specifically designed for the country. And my confrontation went up to IMF and the World Bank because I said I'm rejecting this. And then I had my long session with James Wilkinson when he was president of the World Bank, and he was good because he was business-minded, and we achieved something which is different, to make Armenia not to fight poverty, but to develop it and to make the country forward. And then during this battle, I was supported by several articles and speeches of yours, and eventually your book that I saw early 2000s, which was about globalization and its problems. And basically you were saying exactly the same thing, that managing worldwide with a overall solution for every nation, from Africa, from Latin America and the Eurasia and Armenia, it's not developed. What we needed is development. So thank you very much, Professor. But what I wanted to talk is about something which is strange. I call it the quantum behavior of global risks and basis of quantum politics. And we are in the right place with the right professor because Joseph Stiglitz is a quantum scientist. In the sense that he's not classical, he's not in the sense that he always thinks out of box, and he always finds solutions which are not traditional. So let me shortly try to, I have managed to write in a form of a book which is around 600 pages, which is going to come up soon. But let me put that in a simple way, if I may, a couple of minutes, the whole idea. In order to think where to take your own country, I think you have to understand where the world stands. Very simple. And I was thinking about this years before I was elected, 1.5 years as a president. As a former citizen, I was amazed to see similarities. So, in order to make it clear, let me take you a time voyage. Let's go back another 100 and 130 years ago. I mean, the world of natural science and physics, what was happening there. And the scientists were initially overwhelmed by everything they could explain. It was classical physics created by Isaac Newton, and everything was fun, until they started seeing events or seeing processes or experiments that they couldn't explain at all. And there was a huge confusion. I heard today words, the world is on fire. And those days probably they were saying physicists that physics is on fire because nobody could understand what was happening when they're going to the smaller scale of elementary particles. Classical physics didn't work. So where did they find the solution? The solution was to change your logic, the way you look at it. We of course needed geniuses like Albert Einstein, as in Niels Bohr or Heisenberg or Richard Feynman, that would basically change. They didn't find something new. They completely changed the philosophy. How do you look at physics? what is one, from deterministic physics or classical mechanics, that from me to professor you have to pass a path to something that every moment I can be here, I can be there, there's a probability of me as an elementary particle to be anywhere. That created a huge boost worldwide that ended up with great inventions, from nuclear power, which we know can be very positive and evil. I think great inventions that are around us. I think that everybody has a small unit, which is the communicator. And basically what also happened is that we have to realize that before this boom, you can call it third revolution or fourth revolution, before the boom, the real communication or connectivity between us worldwide was very low. We are born humans without any communications or connectivity. Our first communicator is our mother, communicating us with the world. And then we start learning, and with the ages, we are species that are born with no connections. Well, today, if you are a 2-year-old child, and I have my grandchildren, they live in both worlds, material world and in a virtual world. They have this tool, which is the communication connection, which is with the speed of light. So we're like elementary, think about us like elementary particles, and we're communicating with the speed of light, like electrons and positrons. They are the same, they communicate the speed of light, they create collectives, and they create the whole physics of that. The third issue was until 1950s, Professor, you will correct me if I'm wrong, I think the population of the world was 2 billion to 2.5 billion, and then it started the boom. And we are now around 10, and we will go beyond. So we are becoming, so what I realized, that when I started looking at physical bodies, the nature, which these giants have proven that the nature is not classical, it's quantum. So the laws of quantum are regulating bodies there. But I've started realizing that we are more and more, Professor, becoming quantum. This is a huge society that is completely different than before. What does that mean? Institutions, political parties, sometimes ideologies. I mean, you look at the elections, what are happening today. It's not about you being left or right, socialist or liberal. It's all about who you are. Another thing, politics was always also entertainment. So politicians were using entertainment, starting from Caesars. I mean, the gladiators, Colosseum. They were tools in the hands of politicians, but tools. What is happening now, entertainment and politics merge. And that's why what we see now is a lot of entertainments becoming politicians. And politics becoming more and more entertainment. In fact, live 24 hours a day. Democracy changes, because in a normal democracy, you were voting for your parliament or president for another 5 years, and then you were waiting for the result and questions and all of that stuff. But now, you are voting every day on your Facebook. So it's a completely different world that we are living, and that world is quantum. And of course it becomes more and more complex and complicated, because there are no regulations. Not only we don't understand what is happening, there are no regulations. Where are the regulations that are governing social networks? People are free to swear on each other. It is creating, well, it happens in my country. The revolution that I had in my country was a quantum, classical quantum. 10 people, 100 people, 300,000. As a president, I had to go to the square to calm everybody down. But everything was on Facebook, on a connectivity, and people were acting as elementary particles. So, welcome to the new world, and this new world, like nature, is not classical. It's quantum. I think, and I'm personally fascinated that, because we have, as scientists, something to understand how the new quantum politics works. And it's a wonderful problem. And I think to find how it works will be an achievement.
Well, a question, and it's to Professor Stieglitz, but also Professor Armén. I'm the governor of the Central Bank of Pakistan. question is, should central banks worry about domestic inequality? And if so, what specifically should they consider doing?
World that have huge debts. That's the reality. And a lot of developing countries are bound because they have these debts that they cannot. And you have to serve the debt. The bigger the debt, the bigger the service, and it restrains you with the problem. Of course, how to resolve that? Because you can refinance, you can negotiate, you can do many things, or you can boost your economy, and your economy grows. But when you are restrained with the interest that you are paying, how you are going to do that? So questions are there. But let me give you something which is just out of the blue. It's just came to my mind, and I'm not insisting that this is what one should do. One of the biggest problems that everybody is discussing now today is the environment. Am I right? But we are living in a globe which is for everybody. So whenever I am improving environment, let's say in Armenia, it improves the environment in Switzerland as well, and the other way around. When there's something happening wrong in China or United States or in France, it hits me, it hits the Gulf, it becomes more drier, and the temperature goes up to the 60 degrees and so on and so forth. But all of us are interlinked or interconnected not only with the debt that we inherited from IMF and the World Bank, but also bilateral debts. So let's do an abstract exercise. So let's say there is a big country that has agreed that climate change matters. And they have agreed that they are ready to invest every year, let's say $1 billion into improving the climate change. So planting trees or making some of their industries much more greener and all of that stuff. Fine. And let's imagine there is a smaller country that has a debt of 500 million from this country, and that country has to serve that. And let's imagine there are two smart leaders that have agreed and they have made an effort together to convince the international community that the smaller country will spend the interest of this loan and maybe the capital in making their own country greener. That's out of 500 million, 100 million planting trees, and will transfer this credit to the bigger country. And the bigger country can claim that they have done $100 million over green bond, reducing the CO2. Not necessarily, well, physically, let's say, in the big country, but in a smaller country. But because we are global, it doesn't matter where. So an idea how to help to make the planet with less CO2 greener, and how to basically go through this bottleneck in terms of releasing this money, which is bounded, which is sitting there doing nothing. Because the smaller country, at the end of the day, by doing something very useful for the world, will have another opportunity to borrow another 500 million for its development. It's an idea. And I will tell you that I'm trying this idea with a big country that we are friendly, and it looks like we are going to do it. So, think out of the box. So, get rid of the debts for the benefit of climate worldwide.
Then I think it will be much less incentive for global companies to build factories in emerging nations, and it will be more difficult for the developing nations to catch up the matured economy. So how do you see?
From my perspective, it's the other way around. I think from because we live in an uncertain world. I think it's not predictable, it's dangerous, it's on fire and all of that stuff. I always in my life thought when there is a uncertainty, there's an opportunity. And there's an opportunity for a small state. Because on the technological side, more or less, we are starting on the same level now. Armenia, small country, but with a lot of science, particle accelerator, technology, physics, mathematics, fantastic education systems in programming. We are on the same place, well, as the best country in the world, which is America, after Armenia, of course. and we are on the same place. The thing will change, because in order to produce a car tomorrow, you don't need a factory. I mean, in, I don't know, in 5, 10 or 15 years time, you'll go to your shopping mall and basically, well, you will take your child to have a McDonald's, you'll order your car. Because the car will be having 300 components and it will be electric. 2 robots will make it for you until you're having your McDonald's, you come back, your color. Well, this is reality, don't laugh. And it's going to be much more complex. So, it would dramatically change the way we run industries, because the way we were running, we were going to those countries where the big market and there's a cheaper workforce, like China, Russia, Slovakia, and elsewhere. And in order, because you had to have big industrial companies. What will be the advantage of the big car companies? They will hold the know-how. But this is also a very important thing, because the future of the world will be based a lot on startups. Even the big giants that I work with, for example, the big ones, IBM, Thales, everybody is creating inside them Starbucks, sort of a place where young people can come, 16, 20, 25 years, 65 like me, young people, and start innovation, because that would be the main thing of there. How do you innovate? Because the industrial logic of you have to go to university, you have to become an engineer, then senior engineer, eventually vice president, maybe one day, is not going to work, because everybody wants to become a Bill Gates. And there is an opportunity, not out of million, everybody will become. But that creates another problem, because Armenia is landlocked country, but I'm looking to build a port in Armenia. The port in the ocean of data. So I would like to become a Singapore, but Singapore not in the water, having tankers going forward in an ocean of data. But then we come to many other things about risks with the data, regulation, and so on and so forth. But if we are going into startup ideas, then the powerful thing becomes an idea. And what is an idea? Can an idea become an asset? Can you sell it? Does it have a value? Will there be a market of ideas tomorrow? Can we regulate that? I can give you thousands of other ideas that how this world is going to change. So I think we're entering really a new world. And personally, I'm not afraid. And to finalize, Professor, is because I do believe that acceleration that we are going to have, this fourth revolution is going to be the last one, because it will very rapidly become rapid evolution. So the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, so it will be our evolution, which is what? Revolution. Because we are going to live in this new world, and we have to start thinking out of the box, quantumly. I agree with Professor, I agree with that, but I envisage that it will happen sooner than Professor is envisaged, quicker, and of course, it should be many things. I think you have to do parallel processing in every sector, in Africa, in Asia, in Armenia, and so on. So you have to develop tourism, you have to develop the nature, your culture, you have to sell anything and produce anything, of course, but the core should be new technology, artificial intelligence. Look, there are examples in Africa. Look at Rwanda, what they are doing. The simple introduction of e-government, electronics has changing it completely. So I'm much more optimistic that the change can happen. This is going to be a completely different world, not a world of factories, but the world of young people like you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.